Hi guys. So, this is at the suggestion of many people. and I don't know how I feel about like telling this story yet. It's still pretty raw for me, and I am still kind of dealing with all the feelings of it. But on Saturday, I had just gotten back from having a blood draw and having some blood tests done and things like that. Sat down on my couch and was talking to my husband, and because I had had a blood draw, I had not had anything to eat or drink since midnight, and this was probably about 9 o'clock. So anyone who knows me knows I need my coffee, and I had started the coffee pot when I walked in and it was done. So I got up and started towards my kitchen to get my coffee, and at the same time Dave got up to head to another room. And my kitchen is maybe 6-7 feet from where I was, and there's an island that you have to walk around in order to enter into the kitchen. And as I was turning to walk around this island, I caught a shadow out of the corner of my eye. And when I looked full on, this shadow was bearing down onto the sliding glass door that's out on my patio. And it took my mind a split second to kind of marry the idea that, holy crap, that's a car. And we do have a parking lot, but it's outside of my so sliding glass door, patio, grass, parking lot. And so it's not uncommon to see cars driving by or pulling into a parking spot, but this was like so here that I knew that they had, crossed over all of those barriers. At that moment, I just had a second to like process what was happening. And so I pressed myself against the wall, and this car came crashing through our slider. The noise was something I will never, ever forget. And it was so loud and just so intense that it shook the building. It shook me. I mean, it was to the point that I was rattling. And the car did not come to a sudden stop. It was still like slowly rolling. So at that point, I had pressed myself against the refrigerator, and I didn't realize until Dave came running out that I had started screaming. And this wasn't just like this was a full-blown screaming, like, I'm being stabbed repeatedly shriek at the top of my lungs. My throat actually still hurts, and we're a few days out from that. Because the car kept rolling. It finally came to a stop. And at this time, Dave's in front of me. He's holding on to my shoulders. He's like, baby, it's okay. You're okay. You're okay. And I just it took a really long time for me to sink in the fact that the car had stopped, that I was physically okay. And that, this car was sitting in my living room. The front half of this car was in my living room. This only happens in the movies or on TV or something like that. And I was I think I was a little bit in shock about the whole thing, and I was trembling and shaking so badly I couldn't speak. Had I had rational thinking at that point, I probably would have realized that I was a little bit in shock, but I didn't. In the meantime, we're like, we need to call 911. Dave's phone had been in the living room and was now buried under a mountain of glass. And I couldn't process where my phone was. It was in my purse, which was in the bedroom where I'd set it down when I got home. But so we finally get that all taken care of. Dave looks in and sees that the driver is okay. And we kind of realize that it's our neighbor lady who has driven into our living room. And at that point, he calls 911. She's exiting the vehicle. I'm not going to get into the interaction between that our neighbors and ourselves, because I don't think there's going to be any legal action, but we haven't seen the official police report yet. So how they chose to represent it, we don't know for sure yet. All I can say is that eventually her husband came downstairs, got into the vehicle, and backed it out before police presence was here. And Dave and I were like screaming, stop, 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 because we didn't know if there was structural damage done to our house. If she hit a support beam and the house was resting on the car and he backed it out, that's my house falling down the rest of the way, instead of just a big hole in my living room. We had a neighbor come over, and he had taken some exterior pictures of the vehicle like sticking out of my house, so we at least had those. But the fact that he backed it out so quickly was almost as traumatic, just the sudden fear that the rest of my house was going to fall down. And I kind of flipped in that moment to like total shutdown. Like my teeth were chattering, I was shaking, I couldn't like form a sentence, and it was horrible. And I still, like, every time I close my eyes, I hear that crashing sound, I see that car, and of course my imagination and all of that has blown it up 100 times. But I put it up on Facebook because my husband put it up on Facebook, and I more wanted to focus on the fact that here's where my couch was, put a circle where I had been sitting like 20 seconds before, and here's where the car landed. And that would have been me. And I'm so thankful that, well, yeah, coffee saves lives, right? But I'm so thankful that, like, at that moment, I was moved to get up and go get my coffee. And the fact that this person drove into my house, shattered my slider, ruined my living room, all of these things. She walked away, I walked away, traumatized, but physically okay, to me is pretty phenomenal. It's I don't want to call things a miracle, but I feel like there were hands looking out for me everywhere in this. I ended up, as David was on the phone with 911, calling my son, my oldest son, and he lives really close, so he came over. And I think when he came in and I saw the look on his face, that's when I kind of fell apart and just started sobbing. I think just the fear and the shock and the utter disbelief of what had happened, it was a moment. It was a moment. And he was able to, because at that point we had seen our cat Jasper. We knew that he was not in the debris, because where she crashed in, that's actually his corner. That's like where his toys are. Across from that is where his litter box is. So had he been using that at the time, I don't want to, or playing with his toys or something like that. So we knew that we had seen him. So we knew that he wasn't in the debris, but I had not been able to coax him to me in order to like check and make sure he wasn't hurt or had glass land on him or anything. So Travis was able to go into my room where Jasper was hiding under the bed and get the cat and make sure he was okay, which he was. So that was kind of the last of my physical concerns at that point. And, you know, there's a lot to deal with still. We have to have construction. We have to, you know, get some things replaced in our home. We have to somehow move forward. Like Dave says, he closes his eyes and all he hears is me screaming. Like he's never heard me scream before. And this man has been with me through childbirth. And I close my eyes and I see and hear a car barreling down on me. And of course, hopefully these things go away in time. And hopefully these things are something I never have to relive in person again. But I think I'm now at that stage where I'm so incredibly grateful, but also I'm like kind of angry and kind of like these people haven't even acknowledged what they did to us. Or, you know, like the husband, after he moved the car out, and we were like, why did you do that? Our house was resting on that. And he's, you know, he just kind of blew us off. After that, he walked back in through the opening his wife had made in our sliding glass door on the side of our house and tried to say sorry. And we were both just so that he had walked in that way that Dave yelled at him, which that's like your primal masculine thing kicking in. I think of the fact that, you know, his wife is broken down in his arms sobbing, and this man kind of, oh, sorry, you know, hey, like it would, like, you know, he stepped on her toe or something. So yeah, I'm still processing, but I think when I tell you guys to be kind to one another always, that's something I need to take into account for myself and try to process the fact that she obviously did not drive through my house on purpose. She obviously wasn't trying to kill me or scar me for life or anything. They call it an accident for a reason. That doesn't make it any less traumatic, but I just have to keep reminding myself to be grateful, because I'm very, very blessed that I wasn't hurt. And the only damage right now is construction. And eventually I will be able to close my eyes and not see that car, and life will go on. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And I would like you guys also, please, to focus on being kind to one another. And I will catch you next time. Hopefully better for the experience, if hopefully being able to sleep through a full night and not remembering this. So for now, bye.